Hi, I'm Dr. Bruce Chalmer. Thanks for stopping by my video today. What is trauma, and how do you heal from it? The word trauma has a more general meaning in medical settings, but I'm talking about trauma as we talk about it in psychotherapy. Some experience that hurts you emotionally or psychologically and continues to hurt you afterward, perhaps even long afterward. Maybe you're watching this because you are still hurt from the effects of trauma, and you know you need to heal more than you already have. In this video, I'll talk about what might be happening in your brain and body when you're experiencing the after effects of trauma. Understanding your physical reactions when you're triggered by a reminder of trauma can help a lot because it helps you know you're not crazy when those reactions happen. I'll also talk about pathways to healing. There is effective help available. There is hope. So, what do we mean by trauma? Everyone gets hurt in small ways and big ways, but a hurt has been psychologically traumatic if your body still reacts to it as an emergency, even when it's no longer happening. We all know what an emergency feels like. We'd better know, since it's a crucial survival mechanism. Fight, flight, or freeze. These are abilities that we share with other mammals and even reptiles. Fight or flight requires lots of oxygen to the big muscles, so our heart and respiration rates increase. Our pupils dilate, and both vision and hearing change to be more focused and less distracted by anything peripheral. Anything unnecessary for the emergency loses blood flow. We sweat to provide for cooling from the heat to be generated by large movements. You know that feeling of panic we've all felt at one time or another? That's why your heart pounds and your breathing speeds up and you sweat and you feel tingly and get tunnel vision. Your body is getting ready to fight or flee. Fight or flight is what animals, including humans, do when we perceive a possible way out. Freeze is what we do in a desperate attempt to survive when we perceive no way out. This can happen when we perceive that the imminent danger is inescapable. And it can also happen when something so horrible has happened that we simply can't accept it. It's too overwhelming. In a lot of ways, the freeze response is the opposite of fight or flight. Instead of preparing for large muscle movements, the body shuts down. Muscles freeze or lose tone completely. Essentially, we play dead, which might result in a potential predator moving on. It's why people sometimes collapse on being confronted with horrendous news or seeing a horrendous sight. Whether it's the fight or flight response or the freeze response, the calm, rational thinking parts of the brain go offline. When the tiger's at the door of your cave, it's no time for thinking calmly about your options. That's why when you're in a panic, you can't think clearly. And not only rational thinking shuts down. We also know that in humans, our perception of a serious threat releases a cascade of hormones that, among other things, shuts down the part of the brain that stores conscious memories. So if you've been through a traumatic event, it's very possible you don't consciously remember the worst moments of it. Or you may remember the events, but not the feelings associated with them. In effect, you block from consciousness parts of the experience that might otherwise be intolerable. This is also a survival mechanism called dissociation. But when you've gone through a traumatic event, even if you don't remember it consciously, your brain and body are changed by it. You have learned to react to anything that might remind you, even unconsciously, of the event. This is another survival mechanism. We learn very quickly to go into emergency mode if we sense anything that hints of a trauma we've been through. This happens very quickly, much faster than our conscious processes. It's a vital skill. If we didn't learn in that way, we'd never have survived as a species. So our bodies learn to react when something even remotely similar happens, even if it isn't actually dangerous. In effect, we become hyper alert to danger. Now, most of the time, when we've been through a traumatic event, we do heal psychologically over time. How do you know you've healed? Well, when you've healed emotionally from a hurt, it means you can think about it or talk about it, and you experience it as a memory. It might be a sad memory or a scary memory or an embarrassing memory or even a tragic memory. But whatever emotions go along with it, it's still a memory. It happened in the past. It's not happening to you now. You've been through it and come out the other side. You can decide to keep thinking about it or not. You can see the grays as well as the black and white. You might shed a tear, but you don't freak out. So that's what it feels like when you've healed. It's no longer an emergency. However bad it was at the time, it's no longer having a traumatic effect. Well, how do you know if you haven't healed from a hurt? In other words, how do you know if the hurt is still having a traumatic effect? You haven't healed if the memory isn't just a memory. Instead, it still feels like an immediate, present emergency, and your body responds accordingly with a fight or flight or freeze response. And as I mentioned earlier, this happens much faster than your consciousness of it. So when something reminds your brain of the trauma, your body responds before you were even aware of it. If your response is fast enough, you might not be conscious at all of whatever triggered the response. All you know is that your body has gone into freakout mode for no apparent reason. If you've experienced this, you know how disturbing and disruptive it can be. It's scary and disorienting. You start to doubt your sanity. And if you don't know what triggered it, you become hyper alert to possible signs that you're freaking out, which just makes you more likely to freak out. It's a nasty cycle. It's even nastier if you've experienced repeated trauma over a long period of time, because your body becomes so primed to detect possible danger that your reactions become part of the problem. Unhealed trauma can make a mess of your life. It can interfere with your relationships, your ability to work, and your ability to enjoy what you do. It can make you miserable not only emotionally, but spiritually as you fall into despair. Fortunately, there's hope. Despair is not the only option. There is help and hope. Over the past couple of decades, we've made enormous progress in learning how to help people heal from trauma. In part 2 of this video, I'll talk about how healing happens and some of the help that's available. I'm Dr. Bruce Chalmer. Thanks for visiting.